Hi, I'm Chuck Noyes, and with me I have the Chord Cat. It's a tiny groove box, and its main purpose is to help you build tracks and especially chords fast and easy. So let's have a look at it. If we look at the outside of this unit, we find a device that is mostly made from plastic. The casing is some sort of plastic, and so is every button, XY pad, and touch strip. When you use this device, you mainly use these track buttons, the XY pad, and the touch strip. And I do believe they feel not premium quality. But they did, however, choose to have it come with full-size jacks and full-size Midi, which I believe is a very good decision. And on the back, you can power it using 6 AA batteries. If we look at the insides of the Chord Cat, we find 8 tracks. If you combine all the tracks, they fit into what is called a project. And if you want to make a new project, you press the menu button and project. Here you have a few options for creating projects or opening recent ones, saving ones, renaming them as well. So in order to start a new project, we choose create new and then use these arrowheads to press OK. Now we have a new project, and here we can choose the BPM of the project. Maybe we'll set it up a bit and press enter. This is the default state of the device. In order to start making music, you have to pick a track. To do so, you just push the track button, and here you can choose from 8 tracks. If you pick a track, you can play it on the touch strip. And if you pick a track with a drum kit, the notes contain different drum sounds. But all the tracks are sequenced or played in the same way. Let me show you how. You can play the instrument on the track in 2 ways. You can either play it, or actually 3 ways. You can either play it by the touch strip. You could put an external MIDI controller and plug it into the device, or you can step record the notes in. The 3 different ways of using this groove box all have the same settings in common, and you can choose some of them at the touch strip. You can choose what key you want the track to be in. You just have to press the shift button. You can choose what scale you want it to be, and there's quite a bit to choose from. And you can, of course, choose to transpose the track up or down. If you want to play the notes in using the touch strip or an external controller, you can do so by just pressing. If you want to use a metronome while playing, you can enable it by holding Shift and pressing Menu. Wow, such a masterpiece. You could also choose to hold record and press play. That means the sequencer will wait for you to play the first note before it starts recording. And that is pretty much the options you get when wanting to live record the notes in. You can then change how the playhead of this little device works, and you do so here on the touch grip as well. You can choose the direction the playhead moves in. Here you use the switch function again, and you can see it moving right. That's the standard one. And you can also have it move down. That means the playhead will go down this direction. You can also have it move clockwise. In a spiral motion and counterclockwise. And you can also reverse the order of the playhead. And even choose the switchback, which means that when the playhead hits the end, it will reverse back. If we put it back to normal, meaning off direction right. We also have the options to swing the track, and here you have to hold down the arrow keys, and we can choose to shift the steps in either the right direction or the left. If we do not want to record the notes in by strip or keys, we have the option to step record as well. In order to do so, you just push the step you want and choose a note. You can choose multiple notes. And you can also unchoose multiple notes. If you do not like that the sound plays when you press a key, you can always go into the menu, and in the settings that says System Settings, you can then choose to either have the function enabled or disabled, and you also have options like enabling only the current track, all tracks, or when it stops, I believe. There's a few other things you can edit on each step besides the notes. You can edit the pitch using the XY pad that will transpose the pitch up or down. Right is up. Left is down. You can also choose to edit the gate length of the notes, meaning how long they will last, and then the velocity, pressing left for a lower value and right for a higher one. If you want to do it the other way around, that's also possible. You can then hold in the notes you like and then press a step. And you can see now we have information on this step as well. Impressive. That's pretty much it for the step control of the Chord Cat. If you do not like making chords like this, having to choose individual notes, the makers of this little device has come up with quite a brilliant idea, and that is using chord sets. So in order to do so, you just press Shift and cursor, and that gives you a chord set, meaning you'll have a new chord on every note on the touch strip. So we have minor chords, major, seventh, and minor ones as well. But in my opinion, the most interesting options are the genre-based chord sets like house. They are actually quite good. You can also save your own chord sets if you made something different than the creators of the Chord Cat. In the menu, you can choose User Chord Set and then save it. If you do not like the chord sets of this device, but you still want to have a bit of a helping hand when it comes to creating chords, you can use the cursor function. With this function, the device gives you some ideas of what your next chord could be. So you have to input one chord, and then you can scroll through the different suggestions using the XY pad. And if you like one, you can save it by pressing the key. So now we have two chords. We can suggest another. And if we only want these 4 chords in our project, we can just press copy and paste and then delete the ones we do not want. So now there's no confusion. If you like the chords but want them to be voiced in a different way, there's also an option for that. You just press the Shift and voicing, and here you get different voicings, again using the XY pad. It does sound better, however, if you increase the poly setting. And again, you just pick the step you want. Oh yes. So now we have a total fresh set of chords. Nice. If we want to sequence all new chords, it goes as I showed you before. Just press the step and the chord you want, and then maybe increase gate. And if you then want more than 16 bars, you can choose to hold Shift and press length. And each time you do so, you get another bar of 16 steps. In order to access the second bar, you press Shift and then toggle to page 2 and maybe that's how the length and page works. You can also shape the Midi of this device by using the parameters on the right. You can choose to add an arpeggiator to your sound. If you do so, it seemingly does nothing, but you have to press the XY pad again in order to choose what ARP settings you would want. and it can be quite difficult to narrow in the exact settings. You can then use the hold button in order to hold the effect throughout the track. And you can access additional parameters for the ARP by pressing Shift ARP. Here you get settings like the octave range and the style. And it's pretty basic. You can also choose to add a Midi delay to your track. Here you use the XY pad once again. And if you like it, you have to press hold. The last option we have is a Docker type effect, which is almost like a sidechain effect, but it just reacts to time and not input. And here you can also shift press to access additional parameters. In order to turn the effect off, you have to disable the hold function. Each track can contain one sound or one instrument. In order to choose one, you pick the track you want. You pick the track you want, and then you can choose from different types of sounds just by pressing sound. You have 2 times 16 bass presets. You also have keys. Leads. Pads. Guitar and plug. Not all categories have 16 presets though. See, here you only get 13. Mallet and bell. Here you only have 14. Brass and string. And effects, you only get a few presets. Only 6. And drum kits, here you have 16. That's all the sounds. You have the option to edit a small part of the sound. If we press Shift and Sound Character, you have a low pass filter. Again, choose the options using the XY pad. You have an amp envelope, but it only has attack and release. then have how you want the sound to be played, poly or mono, poly, mono, poly, mono, poly, mono, poly. And then you have the portamento time if you want to have a gliding pitch effect. And that's it for the sound mangling capabilities. If you ask me what I think the pros and cons are for the Chord Cat, I would say that it is very good at coming up with new chord ideas. The way they integrated the Chordset, the cruiser mode, and the voicing function is just brilliant. I think that is the heart of this device, and maybe that's why they put it in the center. One thing I also like is that the layout of the synth or groovebox just seems so logical. I only had to read the manual once when trying to understand this device, because everything just is where you want it to be. And I think that's very important for coming up with ideas fast. If you would ask me what the cons are, I would say that the physical part of the device, the knobs, sorry, there is no knobs, the buttons, the XY pad and touch strip really isn't of the best quality, and neither are the sounds that are in this little thing. So if I had to use it, I would almost use it as a sequencer where you don't use the eternal sounds, but you either sequence your DAW or maybe some other hardware instruments. But considering the price, I think it's actually pretty neat, and it does a lot of original stuff. So if you're having trouble playing chords yourself or coming up with new ones, I think this little device is quite brilliant.